Welcome everyone, I'm Mark Scheer from the Niagara Gazette newspaper, and this is Michele DeLuca, my former colleague at the newspaper and lifelong pal and friend.
So true.
We are venturing off into what we hope will be the first in a series of podcasts where myself, Michele, other guests discuss what's happening in Niagara Falls, or what isn't happening in Niagara Falls, which is often the conversation we have when it comes to Niagara Falls.
All the time. We'll get to that in a second, but I just want to know, we are at Daredevil Records, right up the street from the old Niagara Gazette and across from the casino. This is a new record store, and isn't it so exciting?
It is very exciting. It is a record lounge where people can come and have a drink and listen to their music of choice, buy vinyl records, which is very exciting to me personally because I'm a big vinyl records guy.
Yeah, it's a great place.
And it looks awesome. Our tripod is sitting on a coffee table that is in the form of a cassette tape. So that's how cool this place is.
Very cool. Anyway, so we decided that you would start your first podcast with mostly about what you've been thinking about lately. Mark's got some things on his mind about Niagara Falls, and he's going to share them with you. So go ahead.
Well, man, Niagara Falls, what a topic. It is the conversation almost of my life. I've been at this thing, journalism, for more than 20 years now. I ended up in Niagara Falls, a place that when I came in 1999, I thought there's no way it can't become the coolest place on earth. It's got the greatest waterfall.
So great.
It's got a beautiful gorge. It's got good people.
Great people.
Everyone in the world recognizes it.
Famous around the world.
And yet here we are. And the conversation is always the same.
So where are we?
Why can't Niagara Falls be on a level of, say, a Nashville, Tennessee? It's always the same conversation, and it is a mystery.
People ask that all the time.
Even to myself, after all these years. So
and this is your third go-round at the Gazette.
It's
so
my
is that
fourth.
Like
Fourth
really?
go-round. Yep.
Yeah, fourth go-round at the Gazette. He takes the job.
I'm
and he
gonna
goes
get
to
help
work
with this
somewhere else.
someday. There's gonna be a
somewhere.
very good therapist who's gonna help me.
Anyway, fourth go-round. And
Fourth go-round.
what is kind of like the motto for this go-round?
Well, I think, and it's something that's been forming for many years, but this idea that there's two things about Niagara Falls. One, it is a national tragedy. I say it all the time, a national tragedy. You can't have a place in America with this many resources and have it be in the condition it's in. So it's actually America's problem. So that's number one. Number two is the community has a big problem, and a lot of the people that are here, with actually believing what I just said. That it's the greatest place on earth. We just got to click it over to make it one of the greatest places on earth.
You and I have been doing this for about 15 years. I came to Niagara Falls because I adore this city. There's something about this city that is so precious, and obviously the falls. The people are amazing, and businesses like this, where we are at Daredevil Records, everybody's always trying something new to make this place go, and it feels like forever there's no traction.
Well, I won't. I think we're sitting in a place that suggests there's some traction.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this is a very big positive step to have something that you'd find in a metropolitan area where there's a ton of tourists. Right? A record lounge.
This summer
Hallelujah.
will be amazing
And
for this place.
I think there's some other things coming along that will make it better. But I actually think one of the things that's the worst part about this is that we're near Buffalo, which has its own audience. We're home to the Buffalo Bills, not home, but we're in the same ballpark. And there's not a lot of synergy between these places.
Do you mean that Buffalo and Niagara Falls, when the whole Niagara region, could work together more closely?
Right. Toronto, we could even move into Canada in that respect. And I don't know. I don't know what else we would do here besides tourism. We're going to open factories or something. I mean, that seems to be.
That worked a long time ago. It doesn't seem like it's going to be working much
so
anymore.
If that's our ticket, then we become a tourism town. And I always look to Nashville, Tennessee. I have a very good friend of mine, Dave, a guitar player, really cool guy. He's in Nashville, Tennessee. It's I actually have never been there, but what I know about it is It's a big party place, and you know, we should be more like that, I think.
Let's talk about some of the things that you think the city should begin addressing right now.
Well, I think first and foremost, again, is this idea that Niagara Falls is not a second citizen.
It's not
It's not a second citizen. It is, even in Western New York, I think. It takes a backseat to Buffalo. It takes a backseat even to places like Orchard Park or Lewiston, where, for whatever reason, Niagara Falls is considered, I think anyway, in the region's eye, sort of a disappointment or a failure. The Bills, you know, they always have these sort of good things to offset. Here, you know, very often it's the conversation about, oh, there goes the falls again.
Yeah.
And I think that's job one, because there's vast resources here. This whole idea that this is a poor city. The people here are poor, but we're home to the New York Power Authority. We're home to a thing that makes an environmentally friendly world clean hydropower. It's the greatest gift there is.
It is.
Then you have the falls and the gorge. The gorge is the Grand Canyon with trees.
I like that, the Grand Canyon
And
trees.
this should just be humming all the time with the idea that, like Nashville, Tennessee was on CBS for the New Year's ball drop. And it's the home of country music, and every bar and every restaurant on there is owned by some major star that the owner of this shop is probably selling records.
Yeah.
We just don't have that vibe, you know? And I think that's huge. It'd be a good place to start. And that is a sort of a hipness or a cool factor that we just have lacked for so long.
We're missing a cool factor, I agree. Music would be a great place to start.
I mean, I've seen numbers that Niagara Falls State Park has, pre-COVID, got 9 million visitors. I mean, that's 9 million visitors.
The numbers are
and if you saw the city in some sections, you know, it looks like something out of a horror movie, or you know, it's really terrible. Some things that have been empty or boarded up when I came here in 1999 are still the same way. 1999, that's, you know, more than 20 years ago. And,
I always think that there are little things that we can do, but I think the first thing we should probably do is engage the citizens to love this city.
I think that's that's a failing of the newspaper. That's a failing of the media. That's, you know, the newspaper, the Niagara Gazette, which used to be right down one block, you know, one storefront over, was a voice. You know, when Love Canal happened, it was the Niagara Gazette that wrote the stories and broke the news first. And things change, you know, the industry's different, but the leadership of that is super important. And there's no common bound. I was just at the coffee shop up the street talking to the owner up there. Everybody has the same feeling, but who's talking about it in a sort of proactive way? And not this fighting about politics and stuff. That's not what it's about. It's about, you know, if we can't get the snow plowed, let's get it plowed. If we can't get the street lights fixed, let's get them fixed. Right. If she needs something here in her business, let's foster it so that, you know, it's not just our thing, and let's not have other people come. I mean, here's a good question. On Sunday, the Miami Dolphins are coming to Orchard Park, where the stadium is for some reason, instead of in Buffalo or someplace. How do they get to the falls, the Miami fans who haven't seen the falls? How do they know how to get here? And maybe it's winter and they don't want to come here as much. Right. But a few weeks ago, the Green Bay Packers played here on a Sunday night, and I guarantee you a lot of people from
Wisconsin,
Milwaukee,
where I grew up,
where she grew up, came here and
we're looking for things to
wanted to come. Then maybe they came on a Friday or a Thursday and they spent the weekend, and they came to Niagara Falls almost on their own. And then they had to go to the stadium and navigate all that. We don't have a good, really, transportation system between these things.
No, there's no easy way to get from there to here.
Can you imagine having a $1 billion stadium that we're going to build in Orchard Park and no mechanism to transfer the people to Buffalo, to Niagara Falls? It should be like a party bus, right? I mean, you know, they're going to come to the record lounge and they're going to hang out and they're going to see the falls and then they're going to go back and watch the game.
Certainly, there's nothing more beautiful than Niagara Falls in the winter. The falls itself is magical with the ice.
It's a different experience. People could come back.
Yeah.
You know, Denver, Colorado has a tremendous, right? I mean, I've never been there. Another place I've never been, but from what I know, It has a tourism vibe, and
Yes.
it's welcoming, and it's nice,
Yes.
and it snows there too.
Yeah.
But
So
they make it
that'll-
work.
That's right. Is there something that your viewers can do to assist you in your work to get the word out about the issues of Niagara Falls, the wonderful things happening here?
That's a really interesting question, because I think that's one of the big challenges, is sort of galvanizing regular people. I think after you've been beaten down and sort of neglected, and there's been a lot of disappointments here, so people, they're not clear on what to do or how to change that. And I think sometimes, just like us at a newspaper
Yes,
or
of
something,
course.
I just bury my head and I write the stories I think are
Do your
important.
job. Do the best
And
you
I
can.
hope for the best. And sometimes it moves in one direction, and sometimes it doesn't go anywhere. But you can't be silent and stagnant.
You can't be silent,
if-
or you will be stagnant.
I mean, we worked at, Michele worked at a newspaper. I work at a newspaper. It's a newspaper, right? It's something that has to be cultivated and nurtured in a digital age. It's a difficult challenge.
And it needs a
but-
personality, and we all know Mark Scheer brings some personality to the Niagara Gazette, so that's a good thing. I'm
Well-
guessing that if people became more engaged, at least with you and the newspaper, telling you their ideas, sharing their ideas, and even when you're out and about, to stop you and say, hey, look, I've been thinking about this. What can we do?
Yeah. Well, the print news industry has been hammered by the digital news industry.
Absolutely.
But we fail to understand the digital part of it is amazing, because
Yeah.
it allows us to communicate the way we're communicating, and we
course.
can email each other, and we can go on Twitter. This is a global conversation. Niagara Falls is not, let's talk about what's happening on Niagara Street. It's let's talk about our standing in the world and in
Yeah,
America.
yeah.
Again, way before my time, if you listen to people who've been here a long time, this was a great place. This was a great city. This had a main street in Old Fall Street that went all the way through and had a bunch of businesses on it, little
yeah.
places like this.
Yeah.
They tore it down in urban renewal, and we got what we got. But we can't think about
No.
that. It's
Let's not
over.
look back.
It's done. We've already done that. Maybe we could do something different from this point forward. A tourism economy, I don't know. I mean, that seems pretty solid. We could build off of that, and who's doing it, who's gonna do it, how do we do it.
Where do we begin?
I think transportation is huge. A few years ago, the city built a $40 million train station. It's an Amtrak station. Right now, you can't really effectively take it back and forth to Buffalo
Or to Canada?
or to Canada.
It's
I mean, it
beautiful.
is,
It's
there's people working on that, and but again, in a climate-friendly environment
Yeah.
where a lot of cities are used to moving people around, especially visitors. If you drive to Niagara Falls, or you fly in and you Uber downtown or something, how do you get around? I mean, there's a shuttle, which has been
Right.
kind of a grind
Right.
to keep
How do you
alive
get
and do,
around?
but how do you get around? And the bills are so important to everything we do. This season right now, especially with the playoffs.
Yeah.
The government here is going to spend $1 billion on the stadium. $1 billion on the new stadium.
Right.
With no thinking about how, if we're going to maximize those 16 or 17, 18 or so games, regionalize it, make sure that the people who come here from Milwaukee and Miami and Minnesota, the government here is going to spend $1 billion on the stadium. $1 billion on the new stadium.
Right.
With no thinking about how, if we're going to maximize those 16 or 17, 18 or so games, regionalize it, make sure that the people who come here from Milwaukee and Miami and Minnesota get to the falls and enjoy it, and not just the state park. That's a whole nother conversation for another day. The state park is a place everybody ends up, but do they filter out into the rest of the city and see other things?
If you were king of Niagara Falls, what's the first thing you would do?
Tell people that they matter, and that they have to start understanding that they're in one of the most precious places on earth, and it has a ton to offer, and stop listening to this narrative that somehow Buffalo is better than Niagara Falls. And I don't mean to diminish Buffalo.
Nope.
I'm from Lancaster.
Nope.
I grew up largely in Buffalo. It's not that. Niagara Falls is not just disappointment and crime. Especially the people. I mean, if there's any resource they have here, it's
Oh
good
my
people.
God.
It's good, We've had how many lunches at Godowski's, which is a treasure. It's a
Godowski's.
Niagara Falls and Western New York treasure. It will celebrate 100 years in April.
Treasure.
And it is in a location in the falls where
And
there's like
super affordable.
nothing else.
And delicious.
Every person that comes to see the falls has to go to Godowski's and get a pierogi. You know, I mean, that's a thing. And that's how we do it, I think.
And
That's a
talk
big
up
part.
the city. That's probably it too, right?
Yep.
Great. All right. That's it for your
All right.
podcast.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
great.
everyone. And
That
we'll
was
see you
fun.
next time.
We'll see how it goes. See ya.
All right.